Oh man, these hurt more and more as the weeks go by. The Raiders, jeez, dude, 29-30 loss gets them at 1-4 on the season. This game ended about 30 seconds ago. Matt Collins looked open. Davante Adams and Hunter colliding on the final play of the game, I think, pretty much it's the symbolization of the Raiders season thus far. I mean, this team is so talented. Don't get that skewed, all right? I get you're 1-4. Some way, somehow, the amount of money this team was put into this, there was so much money put onto this roster. They've been improving, not even just this year, but in previous seasons. I mean, it's unreal. Like, they should make a movie about this. I still promise you the Raiders will turn it around. But at 1-4 with a divisional loss, it's extremely unideal. I don't even know where to begin, man. They get progressively worse. To the Raiders' credit, they ran the ball really well. The defense pretty much held up. Now, the Raiders were up 17-0 at some point through most of the second quarter. They were up 17-0. But what ended up happening was the Raiders' offense began to stall, and they started just not getting any yards, or they couldn't get first downs. They just couldn't put a drive together, and that gave Kansas City all the time in the world. There was phenomenal pass rush in the first quarter. You saw Max Crosby, or just in the first half in general, you saw Max Crosby get to the QB twice. You saw Chandler Jones everywhere. And it's not that either of them disappeared in the second half. It's just for the longest time, like the Raiders didn't score all the way up until pretty much the end of the fourth quarter, close to the end of the fourth quarter. The Raiders' defense was out for a long time, and this is just the running theme with the Raiders this season is they'll put together at least 2 good quarters every game, and they usually come in halves. And I feel like recently the Raiders' first halves have been pretty solid. Yeah, there were some games like Tennessee where the first half was brutal, second half was solid, but they just can't put it all together, and it sucks because of how much money you put into it. You know, you put a lot of money in Davante Adams, a lot of draft picks into Davante Adams. You put a lot of money into Chandler Jones. You re-sign or contract extend Max Crosby, Derek Carr. And Max Crosby did all he could do. I still think Chandler Jones he should get a lot of praise. You know, everybody on the defense, they just couldn't get to the QB. I don't like how many 3-man rushes were called in the game in general, but specifically in the second half, it just felt like the defense, Patrick Graham's defense, just kind of, they took their foot off the gas. Patrick Mahomes didn't have anything until the very end of the first half. The first quarter was all Raiders. I know the score was only 7-0, but Mahomes, the Chiefs' offense, they couldn't get it going. The Raiders were getting some drives together, not right out of the get-go, but it's just brutal. You know, it's absolutely brutal. I feel like the Raiders' offensive line did as much as they could have done. They did a great job, especially in the first half. As we alluded to, Josh Jacobs and the Raiders' offense, they ran their hearts out. 155 yards in total, 6.5 yards per rush. The Raiders only made it to the red zone one time. They were 1 for 1. The 11 penalties were just brutal. You know, I know a lot of people are going to be wondering about Josh McDaniels going for the 2-point conversion, but from his standpoint, just to give him a little bit of credit, or just my thought process of what Josh's thought process was this. The Raiders, 5 straight drives at least, the Chiefs had gone down and scored. So he's thinking, you know, we haven't really, Mahomes has 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. They're running the ball 4.5 yards per carry. They have 4 minutes. They could do pretty much anything they want on offense. So I don't hate the 4th down call, the 2-point conversion call. I really don't hate it. I understand it. But then there were several moments like Malcolm Kuntz, getting called for, a hold on the field goal, which, that gave them a touchdown. He ended up Didn't he miss that field goal attempt? And they come back with it because of the holding, and it's just, man, it's a nightmare. Like, they just can't put it together for 4 straight quarters. Usually in most of these games, all of these losses have been pretty much by at least or at most 7 digits, 1 possession games. I hope McDaniels doesn't get too much slack for that call on second point conversion, because I feel like that's a pretty easy scapegoat. For the most part, outside of the first quarter and the very end of the game, Derek Carr wasn't giving me too much. He finished 19 of 30, 241 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he had a good first quarter. They had a good first half. That Davante Adams first touchdown was money. The Davante Adams second touchdown was money. But at the end of the day, Davante Adams had 3 catches, dude. 2 of them were touchdowns. He had 3 catches. Your highest receiving guy was your running back, Josh Jacobs. How much can Josh Jacobs possibly do? He almost had 200 yards of total offense, 21 carries, 154 yards. That's 7.3 yards per rush. He had a touchdown and a long of 37, 5 receptions, 39 yards. I mean, how much more does he need to do? Darren Waller got hurt in the first quarter. That's been a reoccurring theme ever since he's come into the league. I hate to be that guy, but it's the truth. Where was Hunter Renfrow? Where was Derek Carr to Hunter Renfrow at any point in the entire game? Hunter Renfrow can't have 4 receptions for 25 yards. Your top 2 receivers have 7 receptions. I mean, my best guess is you're probably not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road with those statistics. Brandon Bolden did fine. Jesper Horsted did solid, but, Darren's... I had issues with him getting the bag. I don't even want to talk about that because Darren, when he's healthy, is good. I missed all of camp. It's just inconsistent, man. And it's been a reoccurring theme for years and years and years, it feels like. Matt Collins was a no-show today. I don't want to say he crumbled under pressure, but he didn't crumble. He had 4 targets. He probably should have been targeted on that last play of the game, but the Chiefs brought everybody on it. 4th and 1, they brought everybody to Derek Carr, which you should have done. And I wish that Patrick Graham and the Raiders defense took some notes from that, thinking, let me think. If I give Patrick Mahomes 3 rushers, and the defensive rush, the pass rush hasn't worked since the first quarter, why am I giving you 3 guys? Let's give Patrick Mahomes as much time for me to cook a ribeye steak. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. This one hurts so badly, but it sucks because 10 minutes ago, when they stopped the Kansas City Chiefs and they had to punt it, you have a timeout remaining. That was a good punt. They got it to the 5. Keelan Cole should have gotten out of the damn way. Also, I understand Russell Wilson went through an injury and he's not maybe necessarily as fast, but I think he's significantly better than Keelan Cole if I had to make an assumption. I'm not quite sure what Keelan Cole offers me on the special teams, returning these punts. I'm not sure what he offers me in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry, but he's a receiver. He's not a punt returner right now. I kind of want to see Albert Wilson get in the mix, but at the same time, that's really the least of the Raiders' concerns. It's brutal. It's brutal. The Chiefs, Mahomes, they own the Raiders. I mean, it's embarrassing. This was the game you got to win. What is reassuring is the Raiders had a brutal first 5 games of the schedule. You're going into a bye right now. Then you've got the Texans. You've got the Saints. And, 1-4 isn't the worst thing in the world. I'd rather lose 4 out of 5 in the first 5 than the last 5 of the season. But, they're not helping the cause. You lost to 5 to the Chargers. You lost to 6 to the Cardinals. You lost to 2 to the Titans. Now you lost 1 to the Chiefs. It's just, it's time to go into the bye and really just look yourselves in the mirror and be like, we need to figure this out, and we need to figure this out right now. Because if Josh doesn't figure this out, I have concerns with his long-term ability in this position. So, I mean, it's just a brutal game, man. I don't really have anything else to say. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. This is Raiders Daily. My name is Jackson, and yeah.